Hi, how are you? This is the chapter on pronouns. Now, the reason for doing this chapter is yes, most of you should know what pronouns are at this level. You should understand them. However, there are some issues that come up when people are writing with pronouns. And this is actually because these rules in English and the English language are difficult. And it's not in particularly a problem that non-native speakers have. It's a problem for everybody who's using English, including native speakers. So these problems come because of certain words cause trouble with pronouns. So we're going to go over that. We will do a review of what pronouns are, and you'll do a couple of exercises that are very basic and they should be easy. And then we'll work on the problems that are the, the common errors and make sure that you guys don't make those errors in the future. You know what they are, and you know how to revise to make sure that those errors are not in your papers. Okay, so the first thing we're going to just talk about, this is in your book, this is page 411, and we're going to review pronouns, right? What are they? They replace nouns or other pronouns. That's it. Now here we have an example. Cheryl got into her car. Instead of saying Cheryl got into Cheryl's car, we replace the word Cheryl's with the word her, and that's a pronoun. Here we have another example. I like Mario. He is a good dancer. So here we have two sentences. I like Mario. Mario is a good dancer. We do use pronouns a lot, so we don't have all that repetition. So instead of saying I like Mario, Mario is a good dancer, we change it to I like Mario, he is a good dancer. So these things you are familiar with. Now, if the noun is plural, the pronoun has to be plural. So here it says, I picked up my new glasses. Glasses is a plural. So we use the pronoun that agrees with it, which is they. They are cool. The word they is replacing glasses. Okay, so let's first identify some common pronouns. Here we see we have these personal pronouns, we have possessive pronouns, and we have indefinite pronouns. Now, those are the ones that cause trouble. Okay, remember in subject-verb agreement, they also cause trouble, right? So you have to be careful because you just to make sure that the pronouns you use also go with the indefinite pronouns and the form that the indefinite pronouns takes. Um, sorry, the form that the indefinite pronoun takes. See? All right, so the first one's pretty simple. I will show you this example and then I'll go to the handout because it's a little different, but I do like how they have this here. Doesn't work if you are typing the assignment. Um, oh, I also changed things. Instead of submitting this via um, Canvas, via online, I actually did have it printed out, and I want you to turn it in on paper next Wednesday. Okay. So you can circle it and do this if you'd like, or you can also do it the other way that I'll show you. Okay, so so the instructions are for identifying pronouns. In each of the following sentences, circle the pronoun and underline the word it is replacing or refers to. Okay, and then draw an arrow. So this is the example if you do it this way. People can have a hard time seeing stars at night if they live near a big city. So we found the pronoun they, and we see that it's referring to people. Okay, now I will go to the handout, the pronouns handout. So we're on practice one here. So it says the same thing, but in this case, the directions are a little bit different. I did like the example in the book just for clarity, but let's see how I did it here on the paper. In each of the following sentences, highlight the pronoun and underline the noun it refers to. So here you see I highlighted the pronoun they and underlined the word it referred to, which was people. The next sentence, each night the stars fill the skies, but in many large cities they are impossible to see. Okay, so I see that there's a pronoun here, so I should highlight that pronoun and do it with a highlighter, right? And let's see which word it's replacing. So I know it's a plural word, and I see there's two plural nouns here. So I see stars and I see skies. Well, let's see. Each night the stars fill the skies, but in many large cities, let's replace it. Stars are impossible to see. That seems to make sense, but let's just try the other one just in case. Skies are impossible to see. No. So we know that here we're referring to stars. So we would underline, you will underline stars. Okay. So that's it. No arrows needed. However, if you are, if it helps you, you can do that because you will have a hard copy of this. All right, so we go to the next activity, which is practice 2. We have a little bit of explanation before practice 2. We'll talk about checking for pronoun agreement. Now, this is actually a common error. This one here, this inconsistent one here is the problem. So first I want to show you the problem, and then I'll show you what happens sometimes. So this is the problem when it's inconsistent. We want consistency, and I'll show you what I mean in a minute. But this says any student can tell you what their least favorite course is. This is the most common pronoun error, and it's done a lot. I think it's because you're mixing, right? This is singular, but this is plural, all right? I think the idea is you're thinking it's all students, right? The concept is like everybody, and then you say there, but that's actually incorrect, okay? It should be it. Any student can tell you what his or her least favorite subject is. Student is singular, and so are the pronouns his and her. We want to include this his and her. Some people don't like that. So to avoid using his or her, you can make the subject plural. Most students can tell you what their least favorite course is. I kind of like this one too, because it's like you're really talking about, it's the same idea. But if you do have a lot of his or her in your paper, if it's like repeating over and over again, it can get kind of clunky, but it's fine to use it now and then. I would just recommend if you see that you're using his or her a lot, or the sentence is really long, or so you can kind of just make the sentence shorter by making the subject plural. All right, so I do want to give you 2 examples of the consistent way. Magda, it's singular, right? Magda is a female name, so it's Magda sold Magna's old television, right? So we don't like it that way, it's too wordy. We say Magna sold her old television set. Singular, singular. Also goes with female, right? It's not his because Magda is a woman's name, it's her. The Wilsons sold their television set. Wilsons means more than one person named Wilson, right? So it's there because it's plural. The Wilsons sold their television set. This is singular, singular, plural, plural, singular, plural. Ah, inconsistent. Singular, singular, or plural, plural. Okay? And again, I just want to say it one more time. This one is the most common error. When someone has a singular subject, but then puts the their pronoun, and it's particularly with the their pronoun. Okay, so let's take a look at indefinite pronouns. We've talked about this before with the subject-verb agreement or, chapter. An indefinite pronoun does not refer to a specific person, place, or thing. It is general. They usually take singular verbs, okay? So like someone should be singular, her. Everybody should be singular, his, okay? Or her. In this case, it's referring to monks, so it's like his, because they're assuming, I think, that all monks are men, at least this particular group of monks are men, so we say his, okay? All right, so let's take a look. Someone left their purse, that's wrong. But it might sound right to you because people make that mistake. It's not someone left their purse, it's someone left her purse. And also, to be honest, I think even I sometimes use this in speaking, not in writing though. So that's one thing, especially if you have a lot of people who are you're speaking English with, you might pick this up listening wise, but just make sure you remember that it's not correct in writing. So here again, our other example, the monks got up at dawn. Everybody had his chores for the day, okay? Because it's an indefinite pronoun. Here we go with a list of indefinite pronouns. Please take a look. All right. So the thing is we want to say his or her basically because it's could be considered sexist if you always just use his to refer to someone because there's 2 different pronouns, right? So we don't exclude anyone. So when you use someone, you should use his or her, okay? You shouldn't just use his. It used to be an old rule, so make sure you write his or her. Again, if you want to make it so you avoid his or her because you don't like the way it sounds, make that subject plural. So then you can use the plural there pronoun. Okay, so for the indefinite pronouns, I'll take you to the, you can read it here. It is one paragraph, but on the handout that I gave you, I will give you actually in class, it is separated just so it's easier for you to complete. It starts on page 2, and here we see, highlight the correct pronoun or group of words in parentheses. The first one has been done for you as an example. So like, take a look. Anyone who wants to start, anyone, right? So you ask yourself, is this singular or plural? It's an indefinite pronoun, and this indefinite pronoun takes singular. So we say his or her own business. I'd better be prepared to work hard. Okay. Then you go to the next one. You just have to ask yourself, is this singular or plural? Does it take a singular or plural verb, right? So will it take a singular plural pronoun? Same here, same here, same here. And find that pronoun, someone, okay? So there's, when you are your own boss, no one replaces, okay, no one, all right. Somebody, so you find those pronouns. Each, people usually have trouble with that one. Okay, so you have to find those words, those indefinite pronouns, and make sure that you match with them. All right. Do number 2 together. One may find, for example, that his or her work is never done. It's his or her. This is singular. Use his or her. That's it. Okay. All right. So that one is, as long as it's kind of easy because you know that these are indefinite pronouns, and you look up, oh, indefinite pronouns are treated as singular. So make sure that you are revising those in your paper as well. You don't make that mistake with using there when it's a singular pronoun. Okay, so if you like to read it more in the paragraph form, it is in your book as the paragraph form. Now, we are talking about collective nouns. Collective nouns also are singular. So like we say audience, we say its, we don't say there. We use class, we say its, we don't say there. We say college, we say its, we don't say there. So these are treated as like one singular group, one singular unit. Um, company is, crowd is, family is, government is, group is, jury is, society is, team is. So we say the audience is lovely. It's also large, right? So it's. Now, people get confused with it's because remember, IT apostrophe S with the apostrophe, that actually means the contraction it is, which confuses people because sometimes we use that apostrophe. We use that apostrophe like Jill's, we say J.I.L.L apostrophe S, meaning my possession, like Jill's pen, right? But so that means my pen. But for its, that's actually the possessive. And the contraction of it is IT apostrophe S. So that's something people make a mistake because they'll put an apostrophe here. That's actually incorrect. So the possessive form of the pronoun its is its, no apostrophe. Okay. And here the example. The team had its 6th consecutive win of the season. No apostrophe. So that means the possessive. It's with an apostrophe means it is. So IT apostrophe S means it is. Okay. Lots of people make that mistake, but now you know and you won't. Okay. The jury returned its verdict. It's a singular thing. All right. Okay, so this one's nice too. This one actually is we can go to the example too. The reason why I think it's nice is because you have to fill in the blanks. But all you have to do is make sure that you are agreeing with with the noun that has been mentioned. Okay, so the instructions are fill in the correct pronoun in each of the following sentences. Okay, so you have to fill it in. The example has been done for you. Sorry, that's not a underline, but that was what the blank was. So the example is 1884, a Swiss company called Victorinox began selling a new kind of knife that it had invented. What is this? It's company, right? So it had invented. A large group of customers sent blank thanks to Victorinox in letters praising the knife's quality and the tools included with it. So we need to see what we're referring to here. Group, right? So is group singular or plural? Right? So you look it up, it's a collective noun. Oh, we would say group is. That's one thing to do it. Which verb does it agree with? It takes a singular verb. So now we know it's singular. So we would say it's thanks. And remember, no apostrophe. So it'd be I-T-S. Okay? So just make sure you see what it's referring to. All right? Okay, so finish that. Just make sure you find the noun that it's referring to and agree with it. If it's singular, make sure it's singular. If it's plural, make sure it's plural. All right. You are skipping number 4. This has to do with just vague language in general, and it's more about like misplaced modifiers, which we already went over. So we are skipping practice 4. I don't think it's valuable, and I actually don't like the examples, so we're going to skip it. But practice 5 is good. You don't want to repeat, I should go down, sorry, I went too fast. This one right here. Sometimes people put a pronoun when there's already a noun. Don't do that. So in a repetitious pronoun reference, the pronoun repeats a reference to a noun rather than replacing the noun. Basically, just as like it's two subjects, or you say a pronoun when you already have a noun and you don't need to. So basically, it's unnecessary and it is incorrect because it doesn't follow subject verb. The independent clause of subject verb complete idea, right? Because it's like subject verb, right? Or subject verb subject. So the idea is that you don't need it. It's unnecessary. So here it says the nurse at the clinic, he told Tom that it was closed. Like you're referring back to the nurse, and in speaking we do this, but in reading it's not okay because we already have a subject and we don't need another one. Okay. Here's another example. So it's like the nurse at the clinic told Tom that it was closed. You also see that this prepositional phrase can cause some issues because you might think, oh, I need another subject. No, you don't. The nurse is still the subject. Okay. The newspaper, it says that the new diet therapy is promising, right? That's two subjects. So take out that pronoun. And usually it's an extra pronoun that you use. So you take out the pronoun. So for example, the newspaper says, that's all. To how to fix it. Here's another incorrect one. My instructor, he gives us a lot of work. I think people make this mistake because you might say it this way. It's still incorrect, but when you're writing, you want to make sure that you do not add that extra subject, that extra pronoun. Because pronouns are fine subjects. I think sometimes people think pronouns aren't good enough as subjects, but they are. So the correct one is take out that he. My instructor gives us lots of homework. Okay, so practice 5 is about the repetitious one. Let's go to the example here. I might have gone too far. Yes, I did, sorry. Okay, so here's our example. I like the example in the book. It's a little bit neater than my example on the page, so let's go over that one first. So practice 5 is avoiding repetitious pronoun references. Please correct any repetitious references in the following sentences. Our example is here. Car commercials. They want viewers to believe that buying a certain brand of car will bring happiness. The problem is we already have a subject. Car commercials are subject to commercials. Want. We don't need an extra subject. Cross out they. Okay. So when you go to your handout, go to practice 5, and you see it's this way. It really helps if you highlight it just to see. You can write the whole sentence. That works. So young people, they sometimes, and you see that my Word document is already telling me that there's a mistake. So there you go. But so the first one would be young people, they. So the corrected sentence, make it nice and easy for yourself. Control it, paste it, and fix it. So what's the problem? We have two subjects. delete that pronoun. That's it. That's all you have to do. So the incorrect sentence is, oh, and please don't renumber it. That's what's annoying about typing, right? Young people, they sometimes take advertisements too literally. Actually, we don't need two subjects, so it's young people sometimes take advertisements too literally. Too literally. Okay, so please finish that. This is also important too, and this does cause trouble. This is, make sure you use the right type of pronoun. Three important types of pronoun are subject pronouns, object pronouns, and possessive pronouns. The big problem is mixing up object pronouns and subject pronouns. Typically, people don't have problems with subject pronouns. They have problems with using subject pronouns as object pronouns. So you know what a subject is. A subject is the thing doing the action of the sentence. You know what an object is. It's the thing that it's directed towards. So here we have an example. The dog barked at him. That's the object pronoun. And he laughed. But we're referring to the same person, but it's a subject because we have that and then it's a new independent clause, and this is the subject again. We put a name instead. The dog barked at Jim and Jim laughed, right? If we use the name, it would be the same, but the dog is the one doing the action here, and he's the one having the action toward him. So that's why it's an object pronoun. Okay. Now we also have another example of a possessive pronoun. The possessive pronoun is showing who owns this thing. As Josh walked out, his phone started ringing. Whose phone is it? It's Josh's phone. He possesses this phone. Now, to be honest, usually people don't have trouble with his, except that they'll use, or they don't have a problem with his or her. The only problem people usually have is something we already talked about, which is instead of saying his or her, you use their. So that's typically the problem there. But just in case you don't understand or don't know them, here they are for you to list. So the subjects are I, you, he, right? Who they were. I'm sorry, who they, and also who again. We, you, she, it. So all of those. The object pronouns are important. Me, us, you. This is nice, isn't it? Because you is always the same. Him, her, it, whom, them, and whom. We have a nice easy rule too. I'll tell you about that later, how to use these. And here's your possessives. My, mine, our, ours, your, yours, yours, his, her, hers, its, whose, their, theirs, and whose. And it seems confusing and there's all these things, but basically you just have to make sure that you keep in mind which one are the subject pronouns, which ones are the object pronouns, and of course possessive. Okay, so if we move on, let's take a look. This is just talking about gender. Carol went to see his boyfriend. Carol is a woman's name, so it's incorrect. It should be her boyfriend. All right. Also, we see in the following sentence, replace and underline the nouns and pronouns. Note that all the pronouns are different. So this is pretty interesting. When Andreas made an A on Andreas's final exam, Andreas was proud of himself, and the teacher congratulated Andreas. So this is the possessive one. It's a man. Because we know himself. That's actually could be a woman. Actually, this name could be a boy or a girl's name. So it's nice that we have a hint here. So this is a man's name. So what's the possessive of Andrea's? It's his, right? When Andrea's made an A on his final exam, and this is the subject pronoun, right? So what's the subject pronoun for a male? He was proud of himself, and the teacher congratulated. So this is the object because the teacher is the one doing it. So it would be him. Again, when Andreas made an A on his final exam, he was proud of himself and the teacher congratulated him. All right. So subject pronouns serve as the subject of a verb. You know this. You know that subjects do this. You live next door. Subject, verb. I open the door too quickly. Subject, verb. Just make sure you do not use you to mean people. So this is incorrect. This instructor says that you have to turn in your homework. Say the instructor says that students have to turn in their homework. Okay. This means a singular thing. So you and should be in writing. Don't use it as people. Make sure that you, because it's not clear. All right, the next we have one more other language note. Works every weekend. We need to make sure that we have a subject or a pronoun. She works every weekend. Okay, so English always needs to have those subjects, which you guys know. But sometimes people leave out the pronouns. We can't do that in English. We have to have the pronouns. We have to have a subject in every sentence. So let's talk about object pronouns. Again, it's the thing that's acted upon. So like Jay gave it to me, right? Jay gave his watch to me, right? They either receive the action of the verb or a part of the prepositional phrase, remember. So that's part of the prepositional phrase, to me. Okay, Jay gave me his watch. Okay. Possessive pronouns show ownership. This is my uncle. Whose uncle is it? My uncle. Sorry, Dave is my uncle. Who's Dave's? Dave is whose uncle? My uncle. That book is yours. Okay, it belongs to you. Yes, these ones are trouble. 3 trouble spots make it difficult to know what type of pronoun to use. Compound subjects and objects, comparisons, and sentences that need who or whom. But actually, there's a very easy way to do who or whom. And by the end of this, you will never have trouble with who or whom again. So let's first take pronouns used with compound subjects and objects. So remember, you know this from your last chapter with subject-verb agreement. Compound subjects have more than one subject and are joined by a conjunction such as and or. A compound object has more than one object and is joined by a conjunction as well. You know what conjunctions are? They are fanboys. Example, compound subject. Chandler and I worked on the project, us together, 2 people. My boss gave the assignment to Charlie and me. Okay, so you have to decide what type of pronoun to use in a compound construction. To do this, you want to try leaving out the other part of the compound and in the conjunction. Then say the sentence out loud to yourself. So we say, so like I worked on the project or me worked on the project. Oh, it's not me worked, it's I worked. Okay. Example, me went to the movies or I went to the movies. I went to the movies. See, it's easier that way. So you just take out the compound part and look at the pronoun, and then it makes more sense. I really like this hint. The car was headed right for she or her, right? You see that? It was headed right for her, Tom and her, okay? And it actually makes it very easy, okay? Otherwise, just with the compound, you might think, oh my gosh, what's the rule? Just take out that extra top first part and think about what the pronoun should be. And then in the compound thing goes away, and it's easier to understand. Great. So if a pronoun is part of a compound object in a preposition, use an object pronoun. Okay, so what does this mean? Let's go slowly again. If a pronoun is part of a compound object in a prepositional phrase, so let's take a look. Use an object pronoun. I will keep that information just between, this is all, between is the prepositional phrase, you and me, right? This is a compound object in a prepositional phrase. Between you and me. So we need to make sure that me is required. And that's a common mistake because a lot of the time people think between you and I, because it's used as a subject, right? But if you form it this way, this is the subject, this is the verb, and that's the prepositional phrase. So, but it's an object, right? Not compound object in a prepositional phrase because it's and, you and, right? Who are you keeping? I'm doing this, and that's the object, the compound object together. Okay. Please take a look in your book if you like to do that. I think that in this case, it's a little too complicated to do it this way, but feel free. I think I do like their advice on which I already said, is just take out the compound one and look to the pronoun by itself. Play with both of them. Me went to the movies, or I went to the movies. I went to the movies. Write for she or write for her. Just release. I think it makes it a lot easier. That's good advice. So you do need to edit for the pronouns. We'll go ahead and there are some correct ones. This is the example. What do you have to do? You have to edit each sentence using the proper type of pronoun. Okay. If the sentence is already correct, write a C next to it. Okay, so the example we have is Don King approached Zaire's president Mobutu, and Mobutu and him reached an agreement. Now we have, people get confused. They're like, well, it's at the end of the sentence. Is it an object? No, because we know this is a conjunction, a fanboy. So this means this is a compound subject, right? But it's a subject. Also, if we took out Mobutu and wrote he reached an agreement, that sounds better than him reached an agreement. You know that it should be a subject pronoun. Okay, if we go back to our handout, next one. I asked you to please highlight any changes you wrote. I also wrote there are 2 correct sentences of all of these. There's only 2 out of 10. 2 of them are correct, okay? Please highlight the changes you made. So here's the example. So I wrote, is it C or corrected sentence? If it's C, you just write C. If it isn't, you write corrected sentence, or you just, that was the example. So you could just highlight it and change it. So let's do number 1 together. In 1974, George Foreman was the heavyweight boxing champion, and him and Muhammad Ali agreed to a fight for the title. Let's take a look. Okay, so the pronoun could be anywhere. Let's find the pronouns. I don't see any pronouns until here, right? I see this pronoun right here. Let me see if it's correct. Well, I know this is a fanboy, right? So this is actually going to be, if it's correct, it has to be separating 2 independent clauses with a comma, right? So I see that this is the subject and the verb and the complete idea. In 1974, that's just a prepositional phrase, introductory prepositional phrase, doesn't have anything to do with the subject. George Foreman was the heavyweight boxing champion. That's a complete sentence. It has a subject, a verb, and a complete idea. And then we have our fanboy here. So the next thing we need is subject, verb, and complete idea. So it says him and Muhammad Ali agreed to fight for the title. So what was our trick? Our trick in to see if it made sense was take out that compound subject, right? So if we said him agreed, wait a minute, him agreed. Him is an object pronoun, so this is wrong. And it should be the subject pronoun. What's the subject pronoun? Subject pronoun is he. Okay. And then you don't need to cross that out because it was just a change. It was just to check it, right? But this case, it's he and Muhammad Ali agreed, right? Because that's the subject pronoun. That's part of the subject. It's a compound one, but it's still part of, it needs to be a subject pronoun. Okay, so there are 2 correct ones in that activity, in that practice. Okay, we're coming down to the end. Oh, well, maybe a few more. There's 11 actually. All right. This one causes a lot of trouble. I just wanted to go to it first. So what you're going to do with this one is you're going to edit pronouns in comparison. I need to go back up. Sorry, I passed it. Here it is. This is trouble. This is actually more trouble for native speakers, I think, because the way people speak, and I don't think they've learned the rule. I don't know. This causes a lot of confusion and incorrect sentences on papers. So please be very mindful of this one. This one is one of the big mistakes. I would say after there, it's probably the second biggest mistake people make. Okay, so what does this mean? A comparison means when you're comparing two things, right? So using the right type of pronoun in comparison is particularly important because using the wrong type of pronoun changes the meaning of the sentence. So editing comparisons can be tricky because they often imply words that are not actually used in the sentence. So that's also hard to understand because they're using words that aren't there. They're implying words that aren't there. They're suggesting words that aren't there. So look at this example. Bob trusts Donna more than I. This sentence means that Bob trusts Donna more than I trust Donna. Okay. Now, the same sentence can be written in a different way and it means something else. Bob trusts Donna more than me. So that means Bob is the subject, Donna is the object, and also me is the object. In this case, it means this guy trusts the other lady more than he trusts me. Okay. But in this case, it's different because this is the subject pronoun and it's showing that this person is the subject using trust. I think that's the more difficult one. Okay. So a lot of people say, well, I don't want to have this problem. What I want to do instead is I want to write Bob trusts Donna more than I trust Donna. Just spell it out. Okay. In that case, it's clear. So with the subject pronouns, I would suggest that you just make the sentences clear. I think that this is the more common construction, and I think people understand this as this sometimes. So I would say be more clear with your subject pronouns. Just write it all out. And this one, because this one really the message is implied that Bob is the one doing the action and Bob is the one doing the trusts. Bob trusts Donna, Bob more, and Bob trusts me less. I hope that's clear. To decide whether to use a subject or object pronoun in a comparison, try adding the implied words and saying the sentence. So that's one thing. Add the implied words, what you mean, say it out loud and see which one makes sense. Or keep it in, especially with the subject one, right? So for example, the registrar is much more efficient than we are efficient, right? So in this case, it's we, because both of them are doing the action of being efficient. Susan rides her bike more than, so he rides, right? Because then more than he rides his bike, right? So that's why it's a subject, because in this case, we're comparing two subjects. Susan rides her bicycle more than he rides his bicycle, okay? Because in this case, Susan is a subject and we are comparing how much these two people ride a bicycle. Let's do a couple examples on this one. Okay, so here it's easier to see, so we'll go over this first. So edit each sentence using the correct pronoun type. If a sentence is correct, just put a C next to it. So here's our example. The camping trip we planned did not seem dangerous to Hannah, so she was not as nervous about it as me. So we have to be careful. It doesn't even tell you why, right? So let's take a look. She was not as nervous about it as I was nervous about it. Okay, so that's what we're comparing. We're comparing I was nervous about it, she was nervous about it, but she was not as nervous as I was. So that's why it has to be a subject pronoun. Please take some thought. Let's go ahead and go to the handout. you see that I just highlighted it and changed it like that. There are 3 correct sentences in this one, okay? So when you go through the sentences, first find those pronouns. In addition, I was nowhere near as well equipped for camping as her, okay? Her. So what is implied here? In addition, I was nowhere near as well equipped for camping as her. So what are we comparing? We're comparing one person, I, was not as equipped, not as well equipped for camping as she was equipped for camping. So this is actually incorrect and it should be as she. Because we're implying as she was equipped for camping. Okay. So you need to fix that, cross that out, and write she. In the store, it was Hannah rather than me who did all the talking. Okay. So there's our pronoun. Does it make sense? Hannah did the talking, right? So what are we implying here? At the campground, I could see that some of the other camping grounds were not as prepared as we. What are we comparing here? The park ranger chatted with the other campers more than we. What are we comparing here? What's the subject? What's the objects? Or who are the objects? Okay, so that's what you have to do for each of these. It's hard. Take your time. I think we might go over this in class. Because you just have to think about what's implied, and that might be difficult. Okay. All right, let's go back to the book. This is easy. Whom, who, before I even start telling you what this is about, who is followed by a verb in sentences. Whom is followed by a noun or pronoun. That's it. Choosing between who and whom. Who is always a subject and whom is always an object. That might confuse you. Who is always followed by a verb in a sentence, not a question. Questions are different, so don't think about questions. Whom is always followed by a pronoun or noun. The end. The pianist who played. Who plus verb. The pianist, whom, plus noun or pronoun. That's it. Hello. All right, so I love this one because the one we just did was very difficult. You have to really think about is this what's implied? Okay, who are they comparing? This one's easy. Is this word a verb or a noun or pronoun? That's it. This verb is a verb. Who is the answer? This word, oh, I'm sorry, I think I said this verb is a verb. This word is a verb, want. It's who. Is this verb a noun or pronoun or verb? Which one? It is a plural noun. It's whom. Ta-da. That's it. Is this word a noun or pronoun or a verb? It's a noun or pronoun, you put who. If it's a whom, shoot. If it's a noun or pronoun, put whom. If it's a noun or pronoun, put whom. If it's a noun or pronoun, put whom. If it's a verb, put who. If it's a verb, put who. If it's a verb, put who. That's all I'm saying about that. That's all you need to know. Find whatever word is following it. If it's a verb, who. If it's a pronoun or noun, put whom. The end. Love that exercise. No one should have any trouble. This one is another big trouble spot. Oh, sorry. Let me go to your handout real quick just to show you. It's pretty easy. All you have to do is highlight the correct one. Okay. So, all right. For 9, it's a little bit different. Let's highlight your changes. So this one's different because you have to edit. And these are all incorrect. There may be more than one way to fix them. Anyway, let's take a look. You must make pronouns consistent in person. Okay. So this This is usually the trouble with you and I. Okay. All right, so let's take a look. Person is the point of view a writer uses, right? So we have first person, I, right? And we, I mean, indirectly from I or we. Second person is you, right? Sorry to point. Third person is he, she, or it, okay? There's a chart on page 421 that we already went over. So just make sure it's consistent. This says I, we switch to you. Don't shift, don't switch. What would be, so the whole sentence is, I wanted to sign up for a computer class, but the person said you had to know word processing. That doesn't make sense. It's I had to know word processing. That's it. This is also inconsistent. As soon as a shopper walks into the store, you can tell it was a weird place. This is a shopper, right? So this is third person, and then it shifts to second person. That's inconsistent. You need to fix it. As soon as a shopper walks into the store, he or she can tell it's a weird place. Or again, you could make that noun plural and say, as soon as shoppers walk into the store, they can tell it's a weird place. Okay? Doesn't matter which one you use, it just has to be consistent. Don't shift. Here's our example here. It's college students. They wrote you. It's plural. Keep it consistent. This is third person. Keep it third person, and also you have to agree with it. All right, so if we go to the handout again, here's our example. So the instructions are in the following sentences, correct the shifts in person. Please highlight your changes, just easier to read. There may be more than one way to correct them, that's fine. As long as it's correct, it's fine. So of course you can make them both plural or both singular, for example, but they just have to be, they just have to be consistent, sorry. Excuse me, sorry. I'm actually really cold. I'm gonna go turn up the air. Okay, so where were we? Sorry, let me readjust. Sorry. All right, so here we see an example. Um, sorry, it's cold. Again, there may be more than one way to correct some sentences, right? So here's our example. Many college students have access to a writing center where you can get tutoring. So, oh, I didn't highlight my change. Sorry. Let me fix that. My change was to take out you because that's a shift, right? Because we see that we have students and then we have you. That's not right. Because students is third person and you is second person. So we have to make sure that they match. The way we do that is take out you and put they, third person. Okay. So let's take a look. A writing tutor must know your way around college writing assignments. This is third person, like he, she, right? And then it's using second person. So we see that this is incorrect, right? So you want to cross that out, and it's not your way. So is this singular plural? It is plural. No, it is not plural. Sorry, it is singular, right? One tutor. So it's a his or her way. We also could correct it a different, that's fine, that's enough. You don't have to do this, but you could make it plural if you wanted to. Writing tutors, right, must know their way around college writing assignments, okay? That's fine too. You do not have to write both ways. I just was giving you an example, okay? So please highlight, I did forget, highlight your corrections, right? All right. You don't have to write both. I'm just giving you an example that both are acceptable. Just make sure that they're consistent and they agree. Okay, I think that there's two more examples, yes. All right, so let's go back to the book. In the next one, you're going to edit for pronoun use. There's all the different problems, okay, that we went over. and you need to edit it. So the first one, the example is, everyone with a busy schedule has probably been tempted to take shortcuts on their coursework. So that's the problem here. It's there, agreeing with everyone. So the way they fixed it was made this plural. Everyone with busy schedules has probably been have probably been tempted to take shortcuts on their coursework. Okay. So you could change it that way, or you can change this one. It's inconsistent, just fix it. Let's go ahead and go to our paper and do one more. Okay. My class received its term paper grades yesterday. I think I'll leave that one to you. I think you guys got it. Oh, these are all just the different problems. I'm gonna let you guys do it. I think you guys got it because they're all different and I don't want to take any away from you. They're all wrong. Um, so they're all different types, so I don't really want to do it because I think you guys got it. And the last one, because it's all stuff we've already done before, it's nothing new. And then there's 15 practices. The next one is, please find the 5 errors in pronoun use in the following paragraphs and highlight the change and fix them, right? So highlight your changes. Okay, so I'll definitely give you the answers next week so we can compare them. And that's it. All right, so that is also one that you're just going to do on your own. There's no real hints. It's just everything that you've learned. So how are you going to do both of those? Find the pronouns and check if they're right. Okay, based on everything that I've told you about pronouns in this chapter. You can always refer back to the lists. You can always refer back to the book. You could always, and that's it. So thank you very much. This turned out to be a pretty long video. Um, all right, I don't want to tell you could always pause it because you're at the end, but you can. And just email me if you have any questions. For this one, it'll be kind of nice because I think it's nice because I'm trying something new that you guys have the hard copy. You'll have it in your hands and you'll be able to complete it with pen and paper. And I'm hoping that that'll be easier for you guys. Okay, thank you so much. Have a great rest of the day.